People ask me all the time, why'd you write the book I Once Was Lost? And there's really two answers. One is it's true. It's actually more than true. I've had more than one moment in my life where I felt lost. And some of those moments were big moments where I said, what am I doing? What's the point of all of this? If you know some of my story, I was involved in a pretty traumatic car accident. It was a wake-up call, but it wasn't the first wake-up call. It wasn't the only wake-up call. It wasn't the last wake-up call. And I didn't do enough with that wake-up call. But it was one of those moments where you're essentially hit over the head with a frying pan. And you say, what are you doing? What are you doing and why are you doing it? And at that point, I was probably lost in my career, in my relationships, in my sense of purpose. I was busy. Henry David Thoreau had this great line, only I think in the first couple pages of his book Walden, when he went and lived on Walden Pond for a couple of years, and I think 6 pages into it, he said, "It's not enough to be busy, so too are the ants. The question is, what are you busy about?" In other words, we're all busy. I bet you're busy, right? I bet even when you have a 3-day weekend, I bet the weekend feels busy, right? But the question is, what are you busy about? You're busy at work. You're busy in your career. You're busy in your business. You're busy in your community. You're busy in your maybe marriage or as a parent. You're busy. You're busy, but what are you busy about? And that's reason number one. I was lost. I've been lost many, many, many times. And sometimes on the big questions and sometimes on the small questions. Sometimes I've just felt lost in terms of, thinking about an investment or thinking about moving or thinking about getting involved or getting uninvolved in something. So I've been there many, many, many times. And the second reason is this. I meet people all over the world that tell me that they sometimes feel a little lost, and that they sometimes feel more than a little lost. So what's the book about? Well, it's a fiction. It's a made up story of an uncle who's trying to figure it all out. Everything's going perfect for him, but it's not. And he has some tough things happen in his life, and including losing his best friend. And at some point in that journey, he starts asking questions. And he bumps into a mentor. He bumps into someone who's not the mentor he's really looking for, but it turns out to be a mentor that he's really looking for. And so often in our journeys, part of the reason I wrote that into the story, it just kind of actually wrote itself into the story. But so often in our journeys, there's a mentor that pops in. And it might not be the mentor we're looking for. We might not even be looking for a mentor. And a second piece of the story is that this uncle, his name is Thomas, he starts to help out with his sister's little boy, his sister's young son. And part of his journey to becoming unlost is realizing that it's not about you. He gets this kind of, Thomas, it's not about you. It's not about you. As long as the world is about you, you'll feel lost. As long as what you're doing is about you, is about what's in it for you. And we all have this kind of like competing battle of what's in it for me, what's in it for me, what's in it for me. But we also have this, I would call it a homing device that says it's not about you. And we feel the most lost. I can attest to this over and over and over again. So I get the chance to speak around the world, and I there's not many things I love more than getting the chance to stand in front of a group of people and serve them. But sometimes I start thinking about me, and that's when I'm lost. And when I flip that switch and I look at that group of people and I say, how can I serve? How can I add value? Who needs a challenge right now? Who needs to be encouraged? Who needs to be hit over the head with a frying pan? Who needs a smile? Who needs laughter right now? And when I say it's not about me, it's not about me, it's not about me. And sometimes I have to convince myself of that because it's so easy to go back and forth on that switch of, wait, it's about me, it's about me. How can I shine in this moment? And our main character in this story realizes more than once. You could say he has to be reminded more than once that it's not about you. Second reason I wrote the book is that I meet people around the world who tell me, Jonathan, I've been there, or Jonathan, I am there right now. Or Jonathan, I've got a friend or a child or a nephew or an in-law or a sibling or a parent. I've got somebody in my work who's there. So I wrote it really for them. This uncle, he starts to read the Chronicles of Narnia with his nephew. All of them. Not just the one story, The Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, but there are actually 7 books. And he decides to read them in order. He didn't know there were 7 books. He remembered one of the stories from his childhood. But he looks it up and he's, wow, there's 7. And he decides to read them in the order that they happened. And the characters in the story and the story itself and the interaction between this uncle and his nephew help to uncover a completely different sense of purpose. I love what my friend Curtis Martin wrote on the back. He said, in an age when deep questions of purpose are discarded in favor of narrow-sighted pursuits, we are offered a remedy in I Once Was Lost. Following the example of masters like C.S. Lewis and J.R.R. Tolkien, Fanning's story of a man's unexpected journey leading to his heart's true desire engages the reader from start to end. In an age when deep questions of purpose are discarded in favor of narrow-sighted pursuits. And that's why I wrote I Once Was Lost.